Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Unstoppable Dad Project. I appreciate you joining us once again for this last episode of 2022. Before I get into today's episode, as always, I would just ask you a few small favors. Number one, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast on whatever podcast platform you are listening to it on. So we are on Apple, we are on Spotify, we are on Google, and all the other podcast platforms. So by making sure you're subscribed, it helps those platforms get this podcast out to more people. Also, jump on the socials and follow us, the Unstoppable Dad Project on Instagram, which the handle is at the Unstoppable Dad. The Unstoppable Dad Project on Facebook. We're also on TikTok as well. And then we have video versions of these podcasts, albeit delayed, up on the YouTube page, which kind of leads me. The podcast episodes on YouTube are delayed for two reasons. Number one, it's easier for me to upload the audio to this. We use a platform which spits this out to all the podcast platforms that you can find this on. So it's nice and easy for me just to do the audio. As you probably know, if you've been listening to the podcast for any length of period over the last 2 years, this is unedited. This is just me riffing on a topic or a subject that's come up over the course of the week for about 20 odd minutes and just going deep into my thoughts on or interactions or challenges that I've met as a dad, as a coach, as a husband, just as a human being. And by doing it unedited, it makes it easy for me to upload the audio. The video is a little bit different. It takes a little bit of editing. I have to jump on the software and upload it there, which is why it is delayed. But also, which kind of leads into, I guess, the topic of the podcast and the title that you'll see. I sometimes, it is a little, because it is a little bit more work, I sometimes avoid doing it. There is a lot of times when I do this particular podcast where I'll go back and forth in my mind about, I probably shouldn't do it this week. I don't really have much to talk about. And then when I sit down and think about it, I put some ideas on paper. I actually do have a little bit of stuff, whether it be conversations that I've had with people in my life or conversations that I've had with clients, and addressing topics and so on and so forth there. But it's I avoid doing it. I avoid doing it because either it's a little bit of extra work, I don't see it as necessary. Like, avoidance has been, for me this year, this is going to be a little bit of a review episode for me on like this year. If you've listened to the podcast over the course of the year, you probably know it's been, for lack of a better term, a bit of a tumultuous year for me and my family. It's been a year of massive change. And with that massive change, there's come a few things when I've sat down over the last week or so and kind of reflected on how this year has gone, what I want to change next year. And yes, I do like New Year's goal setting. I do things that I want to achieve over the course of the next year. Despite what people say, like there's going to be a lot of stuff out on social media at the moment. And I understand if you don't want to listen to this and you normally listen, like if you are sick and overwhelmed of the whole how to do goal setting for 2023, how to, your goals suck and you shouldn't do goal setting. Like there's going to be a lot of things on various ends of that spectrum. And for me, it's just about doing you, right? Like, I feel it's important to do a reflection and an assessment if there is things within your life that you want to change or you want to progress, which is kind of where I'm at. Like, I've spent this year feeling a little bit disjointed, a little bit lost, albeit I've actually seen some pretty amazing growth in the listens that we've had to the podcast, some growth with our program as well too. And to be perfectly fair, I haven't really been trying very hard for that because at the start of the year, as you'll know if you've listened to this, we decided to step away from our in-person gym, which is something that I'd been doing for, it would have been 11 years the month after we ceased doing that. It was a very tough decision to come to. It was a very tough decision to come to that point. But after doing it and in reflection, like it had been something that had probably been coming for really since after we reopened after the first lot of COVID closures. That was kind of when it had started for me, and I got into this mindset of, is this really worth it? Like, am I getting the reward from this that I want to? Financially is obviously one element with it, but mentally as well. Like, am I still getting the enjoyment out of it that I had? So it had been a lingering decision that I'd have been avoiding making for potentially like 2 years leading up to that point. And then after that's happened over the course of this year, I've really been in coast mode. I've been giving myself probably a little bit of a 6-month pity party around like coaching and training, and not my personal training. If anything, my personal training has actually took it up a notch. And if I'm being real and I'm being honest about that, the reason my personal training has been taken up a notch has really been around avoidance of doing other things, like doing things within the online business. And don't get me wrong, there are things that I've been doing, and there's been times where I've been highly motivated, but I haven't really been consistent with the action that I've been wanting to take on it over that time. And that's one thing that I want to get better at next year. I want to get more consistent with the content that I'm putting out. I will say one thing and give myself a little bit of credit. I have been consistent with this podcast. And if anything, it's easy for me just to jump on the microphone and chat for 20 minutes because I can just pick something that's come up for me during the week and then go into a bit of a dive about that. And that's the advantage of doing what I've done for the last 11 years and looking back on that. Like, I don't regret that at all. I don't regret the struggle that has come with it, because the education that I have got and the development that I have got from that particular period has been second to none. And some conversations that I've had with people close to me within my family, close friend circles and things like that, despite how hard it was, especially on the tail end of that, and a lot of that hardness now looking at it was self-imposed. It wasn't necessarily the situation itself. There was a lot of things within that situation that were outside of my control, but the difficulty level that I had to go through, if anything, was heightened and exacerbated due to my mindset about it and due to the fact that I wasn't really 100% bought in. Like, I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And that's something that, in reflection, like, I've been able to look at and go, okay, this is something I can improve on moving forward. But the education I had over 10, 11 years of running a coaching business has really given me a set of skills, which is it's just second to none, because running that style of business has really given me a great communication edge. It has really given me a great skill set around business mechanics and things that just I didn't know before I started it. And I think there is an element where you have to go through that and you have to learn these things the hard way in order to actually become relatively competent and relatively, for lack of a better term, enlightened around what you don't know and where your inadequacies are and where your shortcomings are and how you can improve, and then putting in the time, energy, and effort to try and improve those things. But I guess back on the main topic of avoidance, that the finalization of it for me was so rough that afterwards I decided, I said to myself, I'm going to give myself a bit of time to come out the other side of this. What I didn't know was that time was actually going to be like an 8-month time frame. Like, I'm really only just getting to the point now where I'm ready to commit to the next season of my life and be consistent with the actions that I need to take in order to grow the online business. And as I said, I've been lucky rather than good over the last 8 months around running the online business, where I've had people come in. I've still been consistent on some aspects, like the podcast, and I've been through this wave where it's like, I want to do this, I don't want to do this, I want to do this, I don't want to do this, and those emotions, if anything, have been what I have felt very heightened at different points. And then there's the why, like, why am I doing this? Why do I want to continue to do this? And I've had to really go back to the reason why I started the podcast, why I started this program. And it was to help people. And I still come back to the fact that I was asked quite a number of years ago why I had the gym and why I started coaching. And it was to help people. And I still genuinely feel called to that despite everything that has happened over the last 8 months, 12 months, despite the year that we've had, albeit from my personal opinion, what may have been really an unsuccessful year, has really just been a year of massive change and massive upheaval. And if anything, I'm in a place where I actually feel happier with myself, more content with my lot in life, more content with where I'm at right now, because I've actually removed a lot of stress and emotional baggage around where I was. And that for me has been really good. And the good thing about, and this is moving on to the acceptance piece, where now I can kind of accept exactly who I am, where I'm at, what I need to improve on. And the biggest part of acceptance for me has been being able to look at it and go, you know what? If I actually don't want to improve this, I don't have to. We are in a position now where there is a roof over our head, our bills are paid, there is food on the table, everyone's happy, everyone's healthy. Could there be more? Yes, there could be more, but I'm kind of happy with where I'm at. But I do want more. I do want to improve. I still want to become a better coach. And I do still want to coach people. And I want to grow this program and this podcast and continue to do it. Despite those feelings and despite the avoidance things that I've been putting in place where I haven't done the things that I've needed to over the past 12 months to actually commit to taking some action on things that I wasn't actually sure that I want to change. And accepting where I am, accepting my lot in life, accepting the skill set that I have, and then accepting the fact that in order to get out of it, I have to put in the work. I don't have to put in the work, but if I want to move things in the right direction, there is going to need to be a good amount of work. And the reason I had been avoiding that over the last 8 months was I wasn't sure that I wanted to do the work. And right now, when I'm sitting here doing this podcast, that reflection over the last 12 months has gone, you know what? I do want to do the work. I do want to keep moving forward. And in the past, when I've done hard work and really grinded down and knuckled down, it has been from a place of scarcity. It has been from a place of, if I don't do this, we are going to fail badly and things are not going to be good. We are not going to be able to put a roof over our heads. We are not going to be able to put food on our table. And I think while that can be a point, like something that will drive a lot of people, I think you can only live in that space for so long, which is where I'd almost been living for the last 11 years. And now that I'm no longer living there, I actually needed to take that amount of time. Like I said to myself, it was going to be a week or two. And I went through all the gambit of emotions around, I felt depressed, I felt anxious, I felt like a failure, I felt like a fraud. There was all these feelings and emotions that have come up at different times over the last 8 months, which really led to me avoiding doing work on something that was important to me, became less important to me, and has now shifted back to being important to me. But now, and this is something I am so grateful for, the journey that has happened to myself over the last 12 months, I feel like I'm in a place where I am ready to do the work on it. And I'm ready to put in the work to try and build this program and build this podcast and really take it to that next level. But I'm not doing it from a place of scarcity. I'm doing it from a place of I actually want to do it for my own enjoyment and for the fact that it is going to help me build something that I can be proud of and build something that I can be happy doing. And that's actually a really cool place to be in. But it took me to go through that period of avoidance and acceptance of where I was at, and really just starting to work through what for me were self-imposed limitations. They were limitations that I had put on myself to stop, almost as a safeguard, to not do the work that I needed to because I was scared of failure again. Because to me, when everything happened at the start of the year, that was failure. That was something that it really hit me hard, harder than I thought it would. There was a peak at the start of really, really heightened emotion where I thought once I actually got through that peak, I was on the other side of it. And the fact was I wasn't. There was a lot of other stuff that I needed to address that in all reality, as much as I advocate on this podcast time and time again to make sure that you go out and you talk to people, it is so important to do that, especially if you're feeling a little bit lost. There is also work that you need to do by yourself, alone behind closed doors, where you need to unpack things and work out what you really want. And I needed to go through that. I needed to understand and realize that I still do want to do this podcast every week. I still want to be a coach. I still do want to help people grow, move better, become the best versions of themselves. And that's where I'm at now. And moving forward, moving into 2023, you will notice hopefully a lot of changes in not only the way I deliver my social media and the podcast and the program, but how I move things forward and the work that I'm doing. And hopefully you can continue to see some value from it. Hopefully, despite what I've gone through over the last 12 months, you have seen some value from the information that I've been putting out, albeit at times scarce. And those of you that have stuck with me and worked with me over the last 12 months, I just want to take this opportunity before I wrap this podcast up to thank you. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life and help you, hopefully in a way which has helped you progress forward, because that has meant the world to me. Despite me not being at my best, you guys have been able to stick with me, help me, and let me work with you. And it's been an absolute privilege to be able to do that. So I am excited for the future. Let me know if you've been through a massive period like that where it's almost been a whole year that's taken you to, if you're watching this on video, you're going to see that I've got a little helper behind me who has come out to swing on the rings. So I'm going to try and wrap this up before I get a little bit too distracted by what's going on behind me. But thank you. Thank you to everyone who listens to the podcast. The growth that we have seen from the podcast has been amazing. Those of you that have been part of our programs, thank you. I can't say it enough. I'm looking forward to taking everything, including your training, to the next level next year, and hopefully delivering you with a better quality and a better value service than what I have been over this past 12 months. So thanks once again. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you for being a part of the Unstoppable Dad Project for 2022, and looking forward to bigger things for 2023. Goodbye. Can I say goodbye?
Bye.
See ya.